Organizing your digital photos and wondering what the best folder structure for photos is? If you are just getting started and you want to make sure your images are organized correctly from the get-go, or you're in a little bit of a mess and you want to get everything back and sorted neat and tidy, this episode is going to be a must watch. I'm going to run through two different folder structures that you can use for organizing your photos, and then I'm going to help you choose the best one for you. Now, if you're new here, hello, my name is Adrienne from LiveSnap Love, where I help you master your camera so you can beautifully capture your children, your family, and the world around you. Now, you will find links to extra resources and everything that we mention in this video in the description underneath, so be sure to check that out too. But for now, let's go right ahead and dive in to those different folder structures. So the very first step is to create a master folder for your photos. So we are going to look at two different folder structures today, but the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you start by creating one master folder that will hold all of your photos. Now, you can call this whatever you want, such as master photos, as I've done here. You could just call that photos or pictures, but the idea is this is going to be the main folder where all your image files are kept. Having one folder means everything is in one place, so you know where everything is, everything's nice and neat. Plus, if you want to back up or you need to move your entire collection, you just have to move this one folder. So every single image you take will go into this master photos folder. Now, you're going to save this folder wherever you've decided to store your photos. Now, preferably this will be an external hard drive, but that can be on your hard drive on your computer as well. Now, I do have 3 here because I'm going to show you some different examples, but you are only going to have 1. Now, once you have your master photos folder created, you're then going to decide on your preferred folder structure within that. So there's no real right or wrong way to do this, within reason, of course, provided you have a structure that makes sense to you. But I'm going to give you 2 options for different file systems that both work really well, and you just need to choose the one that works best for you. So the first one I'm going to show you is folder structure number 1, which is where you organize photos by date. So you have your master photos, and then if I click on that, if I was going by date based, you would first create photos for every year. So within your master folder, you would then create individual folders like I've done here for each year. So one for 2018, one for 2019, one for 2020, and so on. Then within those yearly folders, you would create photos for each month. So if I click on 2020, you'll see that there is a folder for each month. So we've got January, February, March, April, and all the way through down to December. Now, just a little tip, do make sure that you prefix those with a number. So instead of just calling it January, you want 01 January, 02 February, because otherwise, your computer system is probably going to try and sort them alphabetically, and it won't keep them in that chronological order that we want. So just putting that number there in front of it is going to help keep it in that order of date. Now, then within each of those monthly folders, you would then have your individual activity folders for that month. So if I open this one, you could see an example here. We've got the date and then the activity. So we can see exactly what we have by each year. Now let me show you now the second folder structure that you can use. So let's get back and we'll go here. And again, you have your master photos folder to start with. And then within that, you are going to create subfolders based on the activities, topics, or type of photography that you do, rather than by date. So you can see that this example here, we have topics and therefore subfolders for landscapes, macro, portraits, and vacations. And of course, you can have as many of these as you wish. Then again, you would have subfolders within that. So if I click on this one for macro, I can further subcategorize this by flowers, by food, by insects, and so on. And if you wish, you could go even further than that and call it pink flowers and yellow flowers. So you can drill down even further if you wish. Now, another example, again, if I just go back, again, using this same kind of topic or activity-based structure, if you're in business, you might want to do something like this. Let's say you're a child and family photographer. You could organize like this, where you have a folder for babies, for families, for seniors, for toddlers, for weddings, for headshots, for product photography, and so on. And then again, within that, if I went into seniors, I could have the name of the client plus the date that I'd taken the images. Now, which of these is better? Well, that all really depends on you and how you like to use your images, how many images you take per year, and what you want to be able to do with them. So think really carefully about how you're going to use your photos and what makes most sense to you. Now, my personal favorite is this one, the date-based structure, since I mainly shoot my day-to-day family life and it doesn't make sense for me to store it by activity. I also create a yearly photo book, and that's broken down into months. Again, a date-based structure. When I shoot a Project 365, I also created a small photo book from it. Again, that's date-based. So for me, a date-based structure like this makes the most sense. Now, if you don't shoot day-to-day life and, for example, you sell prints of your photos, it may make more sense to have a folder structure like this, where it's activity or topic based. That way you can easily find pictures of flowers or bees or the ocean and as and when you need it. A date-based structure doesn't make sense here because you really couldn't care less whether that photo of a yellow flower was taken in March or in December. So now I'm going to show you this in Lightroom Classic, because if you use Lightroom Classic, you can actually get the best of both worlds here. So one of the reasons I love Lightroom, and I have many more, is that you're not limited to just one file structure as such, because you can use collections and collection sets to organize images in different ways or group certain types of images together. So what this means is that you can have a date-based structure as your main folder structure, as you can see I have here, but then you can also create collections. For example, for your macro images, for your vacation images, and all without having to duplicate your images. So if I can just show you as an example here, I have all my date-based structure, that's my main folder structure, and then underneath that I've created different collections for my photo books. But you can see I have one here for macro, that's the collection set is macro, and then within that I can then have further subcategories called collections. So I have one there for flowers, for example, and one there for food. So that means I'm not strictly limited to one folder structure or the other. I can use both. And the best thing here is you're not having to duplicate photos to create that. If you did duplicate your photos, it would get into a horrendous mess. So that's not what I recommend that you do. But if you have Lightroom Classic, then you can certainly do this. Now, the other thing I want to show you here is that you have other ways of being able to find your photos in Lightroom. So for example, over here on the right hand side, your keywording, you can add keywords to your images to allow you to find your images. So I might not remember what year I took a particular photo, but I may remember that, where it was taken, or that my son was wearing a yellow t-shirt, or I may have some descriptive element. If I've keyworded correctly, then I'll be able to find them. You're also able to filter by attribute as well, and things like metadata. So that means that I can search by criteria, where an image was taken, what lens was used, and so on. So between keywords and criteria-based search, you can find pretty much anything that you like. So if you'd like to get more of an understanding on how Lightroom Classic works, do be sure to watch our free Lightroom Classic training, how to use Lightroom Classic like a pro. We go through an entire workflow there, as well as drilling into different areas. So be sure to sign up for that today. So now I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below letting me know what folder structure you're currently using, whether it works for you, and what you intend to be changing to, if any. I'd also love it if you could come and say hi on social media. You can find me as @LiveSnapLove on both Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to join the Live Snap Love mailing list, where you'll get a weekly dose of inspiration or tutorials sent direct to your inbox. As always, thank you so much for watching and for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.